Hello and welcome to RBS4 episode 1. Finally, thank you for your patience. We're now up and running and ready to get going. So I'm going to run this project in 5 distinct stages. I'm going to do the conception, the definition and planning, the execution where I build the thing, performance and control will go on throughout, and at the end I'll do a project close. So let's run you through the details of what I'm going to do. I want to make another rolling ball sculpture, and this will be called RBS4 because it's my 4th rolling ball sculpture. This time I'm going to change the way I lift the balls up to the top. This fundamentally is the most difficult part of any RBS because you're going against gravity. On RBS1 and 2 I used a helical spiral lift that went up, and on RBS3 I tried to get away from that for the first time and use a chain lift to lift the balls from the bottom to the top. That didn't go so well and I had to scrap it off at the 11th hour, and I ended up going back to what I know works, which are these beautiful, lovely helical lifts. I'm determined to not do that again this time, so I'm going to make a link arm this time, which will lift the balls from the bottom to the top. I'm going to film the entire process and blog it on this YouTube channel here, so subscribe if you want to follow along. There'll be a separate playlist called RBS4, and the final aim of the project is that I want to sell the sculpture when it's finished, so the quality of what I do has got to be great, and it's got to be worth my time and effort eventually. So let's look at the definition and the planning of the whole project. I'm going to scale things up a bit. In the past I've used 1/2 inch stainless steel balls and 9mm track spacing, but this time I decided to go a little bit bigger. What I decided to go for first of all was the 1-inch balls with a track spacing of 18mm, so I basically doubled everything. And I started learning to solder all that up and work out the spacings and everything. I had bought a lovely piece of wood already for the baseboard, and things weren't quite sitting very well. By the time I was looking at this large ball and this small baseboard, the whole thing seemed out of proportion. So I've decided against using the 1-inch balls, and so I've compromised in the middle. I've gone for a 16mm ball, and that will have a 12mm spacing. Now the ball lift will be a Chebyshev Lambda mechanism to lift the balls up, and this is a 3-link system that is fixed to a copper frame in 2 particular points. The animation here shows how it all works. And the blue arm is 60mm long, the red arm is 150, and the green arm is 300mm. The fixing points between them have to be really carefully controlled, so the vertical distance between the where the arm and the motor is, and that way you get a nice scoop of the ball in the vertical direction, which goes up nice and quickly, and then a slow, careful descent down, ready to scoop up the next ball. It'll be continuous running, it'll be switched, and it'll be powered by mains, and I've already bought a 6-volt DC motor which is fixed at 6 RPM. This will provide hopefully enough torque to lift the mechanism up. There will not be any LEDs on this one, and there also won't be any speed control. Now getting the ball back down is the fun bit, of course, and I haven't really designed what I'm going to do. I have some ideas in my head, as always. I'm always dreaming into the future and thinking about what to do. There may be a track switch which will be located probably quite early on in the section, and that'll provide 2 different routes down. One of the routes may have a serpentine because I really like those and I think it will look really good in the 16mm scale, and the other route will probably have a horizontal spiral because I like to keep the balls on the sculpture for as long as possible before they get down. I have bought a copper bowl, and this might act as one of those plug hole systems where the balls go into the plug hole and they go round and round and round before finally going through a hole in the bottom. So I've got a little nice copper bowl which I'll probably use for that. So the first stage is to select and order all the materials for the build, and I've been doing that over the last 2 months. I've given up with the small baseboard because it just wasn't working for me. With the lifting mechanism it was going to be quite big, and so I have bought myself a nice big ready-made, nice coloured baseboard. This one's got kind of wooden feet on it already. And the first process will be to mount a little screw-in feet on that so I can get it nice and level, and modify the bottom to put all the electrics in. I've got the switch to put in, I've got the electric motor to fit, and the wiring to hide for all that. So that'll be the first job, will be to work on the empty baseboard. Once I've done all the electrics, I'll then move on to the link mechanism, because getting the ball up is fundamental, and that's the hard thing that I've not done. I will be using copper tubing for that, so I've got a nice big selection of tubes. I will be brazing those, so look forward to a whole bunch of nice flame action, because I used to do quite a bit of brazing and I haven't done it for quite a while, so I'm going to have to learn, polish up my skills, but then I'll be brazing again. And once the lifting mechanism is in place and the balls can be picked up, I've got to do the loading and the unloading part of that. And then I get onto the downhill section, the switch, the serpentine, the horizontal spiral, things like that. Throughout the process, I'm going to be keeping a check on the process and control. So 3 fundamental things. Does it function reliability? This is the most important feature for me to keep an eye on. If it's not functioning reliably, then I can't sell it. So that is my fundamental desire, to make sure that it works 100% reliably. Secondly, is it beautiful? Does it have lovely form? I want the copper to be polished. I want every single solder joint I do to be shiny and the right size and structurally good as well, but it has to look good, it has to be polished up. I want my copper to shine. I want the wood and the copper and the coloured marbles to work together as a nice piece that you can have in your house. And finally, is it volumetrically balanced? So what I mean by that is, does the sculpture have something at the top, something at the bottom, something on the left and the right, and something at the front and the back? I don't want any gaps in the whole sculpture. So when you look at the sculpture entirely, is there something happening in every section of the sculpture? And at the end of the project, I will consider, is it good enough to sell? Then I have to go through some marketing material, advertise it, need to make a shipping crate and sell it, and then I'll do a project post-mortem at the end and a wash-up, and basically look at how much I spent, how long did it take, and am I happy with everything I've done. So you're very welcome to join me on this build process, to follow what I do. My fears for this project are in swapping to a new scale of ball and track spacing. I've not done anything bigger than 1/2 inch before, so working with the 16mm balls, and they're not very heavy, so I'm not quite sure how fast they're going to go. I'm not quite sure how reliable they're going to be if all the balls are different sizes. I haven't measured them all yet. And of course the linkage system, I've never built one before. I think it will work, but it might test my skills a bit to get that working reliably, and I'm really looking forward to getting to that stage. But first up will be doing the woodwork and the electrics and mounting the motor and all that stuff before I get to the fun linkage parts. So please subscribe to my channel and follow along, and of course you can comment and you can like and you can share and you can ask me questions and things. I love receiving the comments and feedback from you guys. I do try to reply to every single one. I do read them, and it's really nice to have you on this journey with me as we begin RBS4. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching this first episode where I've laid out what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the camera on the tripod and start to do some woodwork right now, and you'll see that on the next episode. So thanks for now. Bye.